SWAT finally got prepared and they entered that bank, gearing up for a all-out hell war. Hello, Horror 5 fans. Now, if you have been paying attention to the last videos, we are doing a $150 giveaway. First 1,000 subscribers, one lucky person is going to be selected. So like the video, comment Horror 5, and subscribe. Keep a watch out for the next videos we post. I'm going to try and post as much as possible. Now, to begin, we are doing states in order from ratification. We have dropped Delaware, we have dropped Pennsylvania. If you know your history on when the states were ratified, then you will know what's next. And if you do not know, I'm going to tell you. The infamous New Jersey. That's right, New Jersey. We're going to start this video off with a killer of a topic. Now, let's dive right in to these horrible secrets that each state is trying to keep buried.
Be advised, the suspect is armed and considered extremely dangerous. 911, what's your emergency? We have a call back for 86 in 2 seconds.
Now, starting off with a bang, we have the notorious Richard Leonard Kuklinski, aka the Iceman. If you know anything about Kuklinski, you are well aware of what he has done throughout his life. If you have not heard of him, then you are in for a treat, so listen up. Born April 11th, 1935, Kuklinski was a serial criminal and a murderer. Kuklinski was a killer for profit and for rage. I'm not going to be able to touch base on all of the crimes that he has committed. It would take forever. I would be able to do my own 20-minute segment at least describing his life and everything that he has done. So I'm going to tell you the basics of everything, and if you want to continue researching him, there's plenty of information out there, or you can watch the movie The Iceman. It was a really, really good movie. I think you would enjoy it. Now, Kuklinski was married with kids in the suburb of Dumont, New Jersey. He was a loving father and husband when he wanted to be, but he had a very violent temper, and he was not only physically abusive to his wife, but mentally as well. Shockingly, his family knew nothing of what he did. They knew nothing of the crime. Kuklinski had a very rough upbringing, being bullied by others and beaten by his father. I'm not talking just beaten, I mean severely beaten. His brother was actually beaten to death, but his father and mother avoided jail time by claiming he fell down the stairs. Kuklinski was a towering man, standing at 6'5". 6'5". And when he learned that he could get people to stop bullying him, he would bully them right back. And I don't mean just bully, I mean beat, and very harshly. There was an incident where boys were bullying him, and he took that beating, and he left. He got a metal bar, came right back, and taught them all a lesson. Those boys never touched him again. And actually, no one did after that. I mean, who would? Kuklinski would destroy anything or anyone that got in his way. And when he was younger, when he had no one to take that punishment out on, he found neighborhood cats. Kuklinski was soon found out by the local mobs, who took a lot of interest in him. I mean, who wouldn't? A guy that big that didn't care about beating people, that's a perfect career opportunity. That's when his hitman career began. They saw his cold-hearted nature and they wanted to use it. And not just use it, they wanted to abuse that nature. Kuklinski showed no remorse, even going as far to state, "I feel nothing," when he was asked about all of those murders that he had committed. Now, he claimed to kill anywhere between 100 and 200 men using a very wide variety of methods, some of them including a crossbow, and that was just to see if it worked, and that's in his words. Ice picks, firearms, grenades, and his favorite was cyanide spray. All he would do is walk up to you, and boom, a couple minutes later, you're out. His first murder was when he was 14 years old, and it was to a homeless man. He went as far to claim that he had killed high-ranking mafia members, including being involved in a four-man team to take out Hoffa, who he stabbed with a hunting knife. Kuklinski earned his nickname the Iceman not only for being as cold as ice, but his method of post-mortem disposal. He would stuff bodies in freezers, and sometimes it would be for months, and that would be to hide the time of death. There was an 18-month investigation, and that actually led to Kuklinski attempting to buy cyanide for a planned murder. He left that meat and decided to test that cyanide on a stray dog using a hamburger. When the dog did not die, Kuklinski grew very suspicious, and he decided not to go through with that murder. But by then, it was too late. He was arrested at a roadblock 2 hours later. He was arrested and only charged with 5 counts of murder that they could link him to. Kuklinski passed on March 5th, 2006 due to complications with Kawasaki disease. You could consider him a serial killer due to the aggression used and the unprovoked violence, including the stray cats, or you could consider him a very angry hitman who was way too good at his job. Either way, you did not want to cross him or be on his bad side. Coming up next, we have Richard Cottingham, who is also known as the Torso Killer. Born November 25th, 1946, Richard Cottingham was a serial killer living in New Jersey, and he operated in New Jersey and New York between 1967 and 1980. The nickname actually stuck due to his gruesome habit of dismembering victims, including their arms, legs, their head, and breasts sometimes, leaving nothing but a torso behind. His first known murder was Nancy Vogel, a 29-year-old married mother of 2. She was strangled, nude, and bound and found inside of her car. On December 2nd, 1979, New York Fire Department responded to an alarm in a hotel. They forced their way inside to put out the fire and spotted 2 corpses, both bodies missing hands and heads, doused with lighter fluid and burned. The missing parts were never found. One body was that of Dide Gordazi, 22 years old, who was an immigrant from Kuwait operating as a sex worker, and the other was an unidentified person. That person was burned so bad beyond recognition that they were never able to see who it actually was. May 5th, 1980, police found 19-year-old Valerie Street in a Quality Inn in New Jersey, hands handcuffed behind her back, covered in bite marks, and beaten across the shins. She was dead from asphyxiation. 26-year-old Moran Carr was also found brutally beaten near the same hotel. May 15th, Jean Rayner was strangled and her throat was cut in Seville Hotel. He also admitted to killing Jacqueline Harp, Irene Blas, and Denise Falsco, all of which were strangled. On May 22nd, 1980, he picked up Leslie Odell, who agreed to have sex with him for $100. He took her to Hasbrook Heights Quality Inn, where he had mutilated his last victim. He offered her a massage. When she turned over, he drew a knife to her neck and then used handcuffs on her. He began torturing her, nearly biting off one nipple. She screamed so loud, staff overheard and called police. Now, the staff was already on high alert and fearful due to the recent hotel murders, so they were very quick to alert authorities, and they were very prompt in arresting him. She testified against him, stating, he said, "You have to take it, the other girls did, you have to take it, you're a whore, and you have to be punished." At his house, he had actually kept a trophy room full of personal effects from all of his victims. He is currently still rotting away in prison for life. Now, coming in at number 3, we have a very famous one. You'll probably hear of it, you've heard of it, you know it, the Hindenburg Disaster. And even though the Hindenburg airship crash is popular, I am still going to talk about it because there is a couple theories, a couple stones that have been left unturned. May 6, 1937, the Hindenburg caught fire and was destroyed during its attempt to land. This accident had actually caused 35 fatalities of the 97 on board. Now, the cause of the eruption is what has led to such skepticism. It is still not known to this day, but a lot of people have their theories, they've butted them in, and these are 4 of those popular theories to explain it. Number 1 is actually sabotage, and this actually has case to back it up. A lot of people were doing a lot of things, and sabotage would have been so easy. I mean, it's basically a blimp. A fire is going to spread pretty quick. The second is static electricity. It could have built up all of that static that had actually ignited the hydrogen on the other side. The third is lightning. So when it went to land, it releases hydrogen as a ballast in prep, which actually mixes with oxygen. And if it's struck at the right time, at the right moment, you have ignition, and that's a recipe for a disaster. Number 4 is actually engine failure. Now, this is one of the most simple kind of concepts that, I mean, in my eyes, it's plausible. You know what I mean? I like this one the most. So, engine failure. It was noticed that one of the engines thrown into reverse for a hard turn had backfired, and then a shower of sparks emitted. Mix that with the recipe that I had just said earlier, and boom, you have ignition. Between them, there is another mystery as to how the fire spread so fast. It's believed the fabric and the hydrogen mixed together, but the problem with that is when hydrogen burns, it is ultraviolet, and it's not visible to the human eye, especially in daylight. But if the material around it was combustible and likely to burn fast, boom, there's the recipe. The problem is these are all just theories. There are many theories and hypotheses against and for certain reasonings as to why it ignited and how it spread so fast. But, I mean, the whole airship spread within under a minute it went down. We don't know though. So I want to know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts? Talk to me. Now at number 4, we have the Hoboken dock fire. June 30th, 1900, a fire broke out around the Hoboken piers in New Jersey from a shipping company. The fire started when cotton bales caught fire and the wind carried the flames to barrels of volatile liquids like turpentine and oil, and they exploded fiercely. It burned the piers to the waterline, consumed nearby warehouses and 3 transatlantic liners. It also damaged 24 smaller crafts. It killed at least 326 people, most of them being workers, but some were actual women visiting the 3 steamships. So these 3 steamships were the Saal, the Maine, and the Bremen. So they all became death traps for the people that were unable to reach safety. The Saal was actually gutted, completely gutted by the fire, and received the highest death toll. The mooring lines were cut, leaving it to drift towards the New York piers, and it settled in the Jersey Flats near Liberty Island. On the anniversary, a large monument was dedicated in Flower Hill Cemetery in North Bergen, New Jersey, above a mass grave of unidentifiable bodies, including the names of the dead and missing. Now, last and not least, yes, I said not least because I have a little bit of a bonus at the end. Stay tuned for just a little bit. So, number 5, we have the missing atomic bombs. This is another one that you may have heard of, but you may not have. For a more mystery-related one, July 28th, 1957, an Air Force C-124 Globemaster took off on a routine flight. Shortly after the flight, it began to have very critical issues with the engine. Very critical. It had to make an emergency landing. Now, the projection was to land at the Atlantic City Naval Air Station, but the plane was descending way too fast. I mean, this plane was carrying several nuclear bombs and a nuclear core. Now, to save themselves and a lot of lives, they had actually managed to dump a couple of nuclear bombs. Now, these bombs did not have cores, so there was no radiation, but they were still highly explosive, and they can pack a very serious punch. So if they would have went down with those nuclear bombs and those radiation cores, you're talking a major issue, and life would have been altered in that area. You know what I mean? So it was a correct move. So the bombs actually landed in the Atlantic Ocean several miles offshore, but there was no explosion. No explosion reported, that was. And according to official reports, the bombs have not been found to this day. Now, if you think about that, when you're swimming in the ocean, to think that a couple miles offshore, there could be some A-bombs just sunken in the water, not detonated. All it takes is one wrong move, boom. You know what I mean? Luckily, there's no radiation in there. But one wrong move and boom, those bombs could blow. It's definitely some scary stuff. Now, as far as the honorable mention, November 27th, 2008, around 8:40 p.m., an alarm at the PNC Bank in Montgomery Township went off. Police rushed to the scene, and they spot at least one shadowy figure inside through the shut blinds. The police attempted to communicate with this person, and they called, they used a bullhorn, but it was to no avail. SWAT was called to nearby apartments and evacuated residents. The standoff lasted, from reports, up to 3 hours. So, I mean, you're talking a 3-hour standoff where there's police, there's SWAT, they're vacating, they're directing traffic, they're keeping people away from this bank heist. And meanwhile, they have no communication of what the people want inside. So it's a huge standoff. They're all swarming the place. They have no idea what to expect. So SWAT finally got prepared, and they entered that bank, gearing up for a all-out hell war. And when they get inside the building, they finally breach it. They breach their way through. They get inside the building, and they find a life-size cardboard cutout of a person that is used for advertising. That's right, over 30 officers for hours from over 3 towns on the worst Thanksgiving cardboard heist ever. Whatever set off the alarm is still unknown. It could have been a balloon or a rat, but the police were diverting traffic to finally take down this infamous cardboard mastermind bank robber. And there you go, guys. There are 5 things with an honorable mention at the end about New Jersey. Stay tuned. You are going to hear 10 crazy laws from New Jersey and 10 crazy facts from New Jersey. If you could like the video, comment, and subscribe. I'm reading all of your guys' comments. I enjoy doing this. This is something that I like to do as a hobby. So reading what you guys have to say, it makes me happy knowing that what I do as a hobby and for fun, that you guys are enjoying also. So that's all I could ever ask for. Thank you guys so much. Hit that subscribe button and keep a lookout for even more videos. Thanks, guys.